Alofa Love, and welcome back to another episode of Behind the Lava Lava, the podcast that takes you behind the scenes, featuring veterans, the people and cultures of the Pacific, and small businesses. I'm your host, Michael Tan, and joining me today is my co-host, Spencer Harmon. But before we get started, a quick reminder to our listeners to follow, subscribe, and leave a review if you enjoy the show. Now let's jump straight into it. Today we will be talking with Frank Unpingco III, a Air Force veteran and co-founder of Domination Thru Automation. Talofa and welcome, Frank.
Thank you.
Now, Frank, can you tell us what is DTA, Domination Thru Automation?
So, Domination Thru Automation, or I think we'll refer to it as DTA from now on, is just, it's a small group of, it's a group of, hold on, let me get this right. It's a small team of people who we used to work together, whether it be in the Air Force or at Hill Air Force Base. And we just started realizing that we really liked and we really loved, honestly, what we do. And we kind of started to kind of get together and say, hey, what if? We started asking a lot of these what if questions, and it was pretty cool because we all kind of had the same kind of values and kind of vision. So when when the opportunity kind of presented itself, we just looked at each other and said, hey, what if we tried to do this on our own? And it's pretty much what happened after that. I mean, each one of us has a lot of experience in the DoD. One person and I are actually retired Air Force Master Sergeants. So, we just have a lot of experience and we know kind of what people are looking for. And we just decided, hey, we love what we're doing, so let's keep doing what we love to do.
Are you a veteran, military member, law enforcement officer, hospital worker, or educator dreaming of owning your own home? Frontline Heroes is here to make that dream a reality. Their program is designed by a group of realtors, lenders, and escrow specialists who want to give back to those who served our communities. Here's how it works. Their realtors pledge to contribute 25% of their commission, while lenders chip in half a percentage towards closing costs and other fees associated with buying a house. It's their way of honoring your service and making home ownership more attainable. Contact Dan Taylor at 801-512-4200 to learn more and take the first step towards owning your own home. Frontline Heroes, turning dreams into keys.
So from my understanding, you're in cyberspace or the cybersecurity industry. Could you explain to us who don't understand anything about it, what is cybersecurity and why do people need it?
So cybersecurity, that's kind of a hard question, right? There's a loaded question. But the reality is that cyber is the center of our life. Almost a lot of people don't realize just how many pieces of equipment that they have at their house that are actually connected, to the internet now. So cybersecurity is kind of the ability to confidently, attach these systems to the internet and be secure and be confident in the fact that, they're doing it in a secure fashion. There's a lot of different ways to go about it. The military kind of takes everything to another level, from a security perspective. But what we want to do is we kind of want to provide that kind of security to you and I, we want you guys to be not just confident. Honestly, we have this saying where we don't want to be confident. We want to be kind of cocky about, just how secure we are. You know how we do it in the military. You know how it is. We just all have that swagger, right? So we kind of want to have everybody have that kind of swagger when it comes to the security of their home and, the internet. Honestly, the cell phones, the way you travel to and work, and things like that. So
now you briefly mentioned the starting of DTA. Could you elaborate more? Because people start things out of passion, but could you elaborate more on your motivation behind starting DTA? Yeah.
So as a in the Air Force, I was very fortunate enough to. I was actually cyber before it was cyber. That's how old I am. But we kind of started down this track where it was just networks and then people starting to communicate. But then security became a big portion of it. And I tell everybody I kind of drew the short straw. And I got kind of levied into the security side of the house. and and I got a lot of training and I had a lot of experiences, and honestly, I kind of had a lot of success. And then I got put up here as a contractor up at Hill Air Force Base, and me and my coworkers, we were starting to do some really cool stuff that was starting to garner a lot of attention. And again, we were just kind of like, hey, wait a minute. If we kept getting asked the question, well, what happens when you leave? And for us, we just kind of sat back and said, well, what if we didn't leave? What if this is what we did? And then the name Domination Through Automation was kind of like a mindset we have, kind of our mantra. We're just like, this is what we do. We dominate through automation. We take a very small group of people and we allow them to empower greatness in everybody, because this small group of people can, leverage all these type of things just by click and play. We kind of fire and forget mentality. So that's kind of where it came from. We were just like, why don't we just keep doing what we're doing? And here we are.
So now that you're moving from like doing it for the military, pushing into the private sector, what's your approach like? Like, what would you say your target audience is for a customer base or whatnot? Are you still working with the military for all of this? Or are you offering this as a service to like other companies or corporations or what have you?
So, thank you. That's a great question, because initially we did start, because the military is what we know, right? It's been our life, for our whole life. My professional life has been with them. But then we started to kind of get educated in businesses, and we started to work with companies like the Veterans Business Resource Center and all these other different types of avenues, Apex accelerators, and we were just like, hey, wait a minute, there's like this whole other section outside of the military, that doesn't have these kind of capabilities. So while it's cool, because what we do is kind of aimed towards the military, but the capabilities transfer very easily. There's nothing. It's in the military, a lot of it doesn't transfer very easily, right? But when it comes to cyber, actually, we kind of made it a point. It's a lot easier to work outside the military than it is to work inside the military when it comes to cyber. So for us, we were just like, hey, wait a minute, we could offer this to anybody, So we're trying to like, we're working with different partners so that we can help to, whether like our team is a 3-man team, so we can help those 3-man team people as well as, the big boys. And eventually, the DOD, the entire DOD, we joke about it, but we kind of want to take over the world. Why not, right?
I kind of like that approach, and like how you said you want to be cocky about what you have to offer, but it's like that mindset of like, a lot of self-defense enthusiasts, like they'll kind of phrase it like, I'm not trying to make this a fair fight. I'm trying to give myself every advantage I can, because why would I make it a fair fight? Like, the point is that I come out on top. Give yourself every possible advantage. And that is a thing that's worth exploring on the cyber realm too, because our world is going more and more in that direction. And I know in the case of the Army, I've seen it like take a bigger and bigger role. I joined in 2004, and as time's gone on, we've gotten more and more automated, and there's been big efforts to try to educate soldiers on being aware of their cybersecurity. It's a certificate that we have to get every year or 2 years or something. The Army's like, hey, go do your cybersecurity or your cyber awareness class and print out your certificate. It's like a requirement every year. You've got to get that stuff done.
Yep. Yeah. And honestly, there's the, I never expect anybody to love this as much as I do. I'm a ones and zeros kind of guy. But what we learned is that when we would talk to these, high ranking officials, all they want to do is fly their plane, right? I don't blame them. That's all I would want to do too. But then there's cyber aspect comes into play, and they have to care about it. Otherwise their careers kind of depend on it. And what we learned is that there's a certain way you got to speak to them. There's like us who are geeks, and we can speak very into the weeds. But then there's like this whole other part where honestly they don't want to know about it as much as we do. So what we do is we kind of want to tell a story, right? You know, our tool sets are made to tell a story that are easy to understand for everybody, you know, and that just like you said, it all kind of comes together. Like every single we've worked with Army, we've worked with Navy. Honestly, we haven't worked a lot with the Marines just because I don't know, we're probably scared of them. You know, we're probably scared to talk to them. But at the same time, you know, like everybody does it differently, and that's one of our themes is like we don't tell you how to do things. We just want to help you tell your story and then let you go. You know, that's how we see empowering greatness being, is that we can go and just let you do your thing, and how you do your thing is how you do your thing.
Now, Frank, could you elaborate more on the services and the tools that DTA offers? Like, break it down Barney style for us who are not
Okay.
geeks in cybersecurity.
Yeah, right. So there are these requirements that the military has, and they're compliance scans that you have to do, right? And the reality is that these compliance scans can take up a very large amount of time for any organization. Like if you were to do the work that it's required to do right now, it would take about 6 hours per system. Now, you look at some place like Hill Air Force Base where they have 20,000 systems. That number just becomes astronomical, right? And you're supposed to do them like every month, every quarter. And that just becomes unrealistic. So our number one tool, it's called Automated Compliance Evaluator. It automates all of that for you. You know, again, it's the ability to fire and forget, right? You press play and then you walk away, and then it does over 700 checks for you. You know, 700 checks to make sure that your system's configured correctly and securely, and then it kind of produces these results that, you know, make it easy for anybody to understand. I could tell you that I gave it to my daughter, and she was able to understand the results and actually secure her system better. Right, you know, and that's one of our big tools. And then the other one, it's called the C3TS, the Cyber Compliance Cycle Targeting System. And what this does is it takes all these assessment results and brings them together. So you're talking about millions of, you know, data points, like on a weekly basis, and it brings it all together, and then it provides a really pretty picture for people to understand. You know, again, when you talk cybersecurity, I could ask anybody, is like, you know, on a scale of 0 to 100, what's your cyber score right now? And to be honest with you, we asked that question and no one's really been able to provide that, you know, that answer. So with C3TS, it takes the DoD tactics, techniques, and procedures, you know, the TTPs, and it kind of brings them together, and then it provides this really nice picture that honestly a lot of, and I give them a hard time, but a lot of like officers love, because it's one, color based, and two, based on a 0 to 100 scale, you know, so they can look at it and say like, oh, I'm red. How do I not be red? You know, and that's, you know, those are what the tools do. So when you put those two things together, we have the ability to save an organization hundreds of thousands of man hours every year, you know, and honestly provide a continuous type of capability to let them know where they stand. And I mean, we're excited about it, to be honest. We're very excited about it.
So going from doing this in the military and now jumping over to the private sector, what would you say some of your biggest challenges as a business owner are? Because now, like, obviously, like when you're in the military, you've always got that kind of safety net. You got that guaranteed job, whatnot. But now you're on your own. Now you've got the results you provide directly affect you and the people in your company. So what would you say some of your bigger challenges are going from the military to the private sector?
It'll always be the business side of the house. You know, like we started this and we're very technical people. So, you know, we wrote code. You know, it's almost taken us 2 years to get here, you know, where we're kind of comfortable and again, confident to release the tool. But what kind of happened about six months ago, like for me, I got a huge slap in the face when it came to the business side of the house, you know, and what it takes to do business. And man, I tell you what, that'll always be hard, because in the military, like, we don't worry about that. You know, like in the military, it's just get the mission done. So from the business side, again, like, you know, the VRBC is just been amazing. The SBA, all these people, the Apex people, they kind of understood that and took us under their wings and kind of just said, this is what you need to learn, And then we had to kind of like the way you go about business, like you have to go out and make partnerships, in the military. And I was just like, hey, this is what you got to do. And I could walk away, and now from a business side of the house, I got to go to a company and say, this is what you want to do. This is in your best interest, because right now people don't want to spend money on cyber. I don't blame them, but you're going to have to, this is becoming a part of a requirement. So going in there and kind of learning how to talk to people, like the huge difference between being able to walk in there and say, you're red and you need to be green. And then literally kind of just walking away, right? Whereas now, like you gotta kind of explain the red. You kind of have to kind of provide this foundational kind of knowledge so that they can want to learn more. And that's been hard. That's been very, very hard. It's actually been kind of fun, like you don't realize just how much the military does for you until you get out and you see how other people do it. And you're just like, oh my God, as bad as we thought it was, and there's always room for improvement. Man, we were pretty effective and efficient in our own right.
At American United, we help when others won't. If you're in Utah and need a second chance at banking, they've got your back. They offer everything from business to personal banking to online services, credit, coaching, and financial mentoring. And they do it all with lower fees, higher dividends, and exclusive member rewards.
American United takes pride in helping their members succeed. Whether you need an auto loan, a credit card, or a retirement account, they have the perfect fit for your lifestyle. Plus, they show their appreciation for our veterans with special VA programs for those who have served in the U.S. military. And here's something really special. American United is the proud title sponsor of the annual Pacific Island Veterans Day Dinner Gala, demonstrating their commitment to our community and our heroes.
So whether you're buying your first house or planning your retirement, let American United Federal Credit Union be there for you. They're all about celebrating life's achievements, big and small. Remember, we help when others won't. Visit amucu.org to learn more and become a member today.
Now, I kind of want to highlight the collective experience of DTA's team. Could you tell us more about your team? Because these are people who you didn't just pluck from the streets and learn something from YouTube. Could you, tell us about your team?
Yeah. Oh man. So we have our mad scientist, as I call him. He's our database guy. I don't know if you've ever worked with any database guys, but they're a couple of sandwiches short of a picnic. They think differently. But he's amazing when it comes to getting in front of a database and doing all those things that people don't see. And he's like he said, he's our mad scientist. And so Kevin is just the guy that made all this possible, to be honest with you. He's the guy who kind of took our vision and then kind of made and built the database around it so that we could provide the data, in the structure that it's in right now. Chris is my right hand man. None of this would have been possible without Chris, because Chris, he's the one that tells me what I need to hear, and he tells me how I need to hear it. And I think we all need that. He's amazing when it comes to virtualization. And, we had 2,000, servers here at Hilo Air Force Base, and he pretty much, virtualized almost all of it, and he kind of can take what I want to say and kind of transform it into how I need to say it, and I love that about him. And he's the one who kind of just said, yeah, let's do this, bro. Let's do this. I believe in you. Let's go. I'm kind of, again, the cybersecurity guy, the Active Directory guy. I'm the guy who, again, this has been my whole life, and I got taught at a very young age, how to do every little thing. And then, I was able to learn programming and make, I'm the one who kind of thought of the automation, but then these guys took the automation and just put it on steroids. And then just, we've just kind of gone. And no kidding, if if you could see the tool, you would look at the tool and just be like, what did you just do? And one of the things we take so much pride in is that it looks so simple, and the way it kind of works is we're constantly like at each other's throat, man. You guys know what it's like, those conversations we have in the military where it's hard for everybody to understand, how the military talks, but when you're part of it, it's amazing, and it's just a great experience. I love talking to my team. We want to grow the team a little, but for the most part, those guys are the ones who kind of took my vision and made it a reality. And I'll forever be grateful for that.
Now, how can people find you? Do you want them to contact you on social media, or do you have a website, email?
So right now we just have LinkedIn. We just created our LinkedIn. We've been probably overly hesitant, to put our stuff out there, and because of just how scary it is. Again, there's three of us. You know what I mean? So we want to kind of take this extremely slow. We will be putting out our website in the next 2 weeks, though, to get our name out there. But for the most part, like we're on LinkedIn. You can find us on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. You can find us there. And again, soon, we will have our DTA website, and it'll be dta.solutions, so it's coming. It's just, we're very, very cautious about how we want to approach this because we want to do it right.
No, Frank, I want to say thank you for coming on Behind the Lava, chop it up with us and teaching us about DTA and a little bit more about cybersecurity. This is something that is, even though we've done it in the military, and I work on Hill and we do a lot of cybersecurity, but it's always something new because we're not in that industry. And I really appreciate you coming up here and sharing more about your business.
No, thank you for having me. This was great.
We appreciate you coming on. You're obviously very passionate about your work. So on just a parting note, so I'm going to throw this at you real quick. I'm sure you could probably name 100 things, but if you could narrow it down to one, you're going to depart and just tell people what's one misconception you think, or one oversight that you think most people have when it comes to cybersecurity that the general public is not aware of. If you could just educate them on what's one thing that that people probably aren't too cognitive of. I'm sure you could name 100 things, but
yeah, right.
Narrow it down to one. What would you depart with us here? It's for people to consider
that the way you think you. Man, how do I say this? That's a great question, because the reality is that, when I talked about those 700 checks on your systems, a normal workstation that you guys have at your house comes in at a score of under 20. And in the military, we're coming in at a score of mid to high 90s. So I would kind of just urge people to start getting a little bit more educated in that realm, just because, one, it's not very hard, and two, it means so much to you. There's so much that can happen to you accidentally that can be avoided. There's a lot that people can do that don't even know that they can do it, and I would tell them just to do a little bit of research on that realm. There's a lot of resources out there. NIST's, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, they do a really good job of putting a lot of information out there. And I would just tell people that just thinking that you have automatic updates on your laptop is good enough, and that you're running Windows Defender is good enough. It's not. There's so much more you can do. It's a great starting point, but there's just so much more you could do. And I would just tell people, I would just encourage them to get a little bit more educated in that realm, so that they can feel more comfortable and they can feel empowered to take over. They can feel empowered to be more diligent in their cybersecurity in all aspects, whether it be a phone, a car, your TV. There's everything is in cyber now, so it's coming.
Thank you, Frank, for sharing. We really appreciate you. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in to this episode of Behind the Lava. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow, drop a comment, and leave us a review. This is Michael Tan and the team signing off. Tofaswe Fua.
Working on my interests, it's who I am. I'm trying to make these digits look like EINs. When the help ain't free, you all help me. Salute to folks who turn their names to LLCs. The wealth is in itself to help a non-profit. To be better women or better men, whether business by veterans or common folks with a dream. We're all born with the same strength. We tread waters that were untouched. Let's be on the same wavelength. Behind the lava, front of our eyes. Let our legacy live off it when we're up in the sky. All signs point to us to help someone make a difference. With God as my witness, cause talk business.